Today we'll take you on a special mission. We're going to visit my friend Dominic, aka Red Rooms, a super prolific techno producer who's played Berghain, and he now has his live set premiere at Amsterdam Dance Event. Now, he asked me if I could help him put together a mastering chain for this live set. And you're going to learn a ton about how to put together a live set, what goes into this, what is the thought process behind this. We're absolutely going to reveal the mastering chain that we put together and our thinking behind this. I can't wait to show this to you. Now let's pack our things and go.
Hey. Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so here we are in the studio of Red Rooms. Dominic Hislinger.
Hey.
Yeah,
Hi, guys.
Dominic, what were you doing today?
We are going to do a little mastering chain for my live set, which is coming up this weekend.
Yeah, very nice. And where are you playing?
In Amsterdam at Radion for ADE, actually. Yeah.
Very nice. That is a proper live set premiere. Okay, let's get into this. We're going to talk about the chain and figure out what we'll do for this live set. Okay, Dominic, do you want to walk us through your setup just so people understand what's going on here?
Yeah, sure. What we have here for my live set is basically the Ableton Push as a standalone. So it means I don't need a laptop to play live. And I'm gonna transfer the project that I prepared in Ableton on my laptop via Wi-Fi to the standalone. So this is my core unit. I have I don't know how many stems on the unit for the live set from different tracks that I produced in the past, some released tracks and also some unreleased stuff. Mostly unreleased, actually. As an addition to that, I have the Roland TR8S, which I will be using for live drumming, let's say. So I prepared different drum patterns, different hi-hats, different claps, different rides, and some other percussion that I can add to the elements that are coming from the push. As an addition to that, I got the Fader Fox MX12, which is a MIDI controller. The Fader Fox allows me to modulate and manipulate different parameters at the same time. And I can also do live effect racks, kind of, where I can put different effects on a macro in Ableton and then MIDI map this macro to one of the knobs that I have here, which is really cool for live performances. Furthermore, I'm gonna use the TB3 for my live as well. This was a actually late addition to my live set because initially I want to play with only these three elements. But I was playing around with the TB3. I have this for, I don't know, 10 years maybe now. Sometimes I don't use it at all, but I don't know. I felt like maybe it could be a nice addition to my live set. And it actually is, because from all the stems that I have on my push, this gives me the opportunity to perform actually a bit more live in a live situation with some synths and percussions that I get out of this machine.
And what's the role of the Octa track?
I don't use it in my live set, but I have it here in my studio as a sequencer for my synthesizers. So I sequence the virus with the Octa track and my Microfreak, Arturia Microfreak, and the TB3 when I use it in the studio. But I don't use the Octa track for the live.
Okay, so MIDI data is all coming from the push and then going into the TB3, into the drum machine as well. On the drum machine, you're programming on the fly, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Why do we now talk about a mastering chain? Like, why can't you just play the live set period? So why do you need a mastering chain?
So I actually wanted, because when you come to a club and you listen a live set and then compare it directly with, for example, a DJ who's playing master track after a live set. Like when I experienced this in a club as a visitor, as a guest, I always had the feeling that the master tracks that the DJ is playing are way more powerful than the live sets, because Ableton and also the push gives you the opportunity to do like effect chains in the unit, in the program, and then transfer it to the Ableton push is like a really, really nice tool to make your live set sound like powerful and dynamic.
So there's something to be said for going DAW-less and not going DAW-less. So obviously it's a lot of fun to play without any computer whatsoever. But the cool thing is that now with a push in the standalone version, you don't have the downside of having this computer screen on the stage and trying to click around. But on the other end, you have some of the upsides that you get from working with the DAW, meaning that you can put, for example, a master chain on your master output, which is something that with DAW-less techno it's not possible, or you get some super expensive outboard gear that you then put on the main output of your mixer, which is not available to everyone.
So die Tiefen, eine gute Clubanlage kann das halt
locker. Ja, locker. Die kommt auch noch drunter. Also wenn die richtig krasse Subs haben, können die auch zwischen 10 und 20 Hertz wirklich Sachen abspielen. Die hörst du nicht mehr, die fühlst du nur noch. Dass der ganze Boden vibriert.
Ja.
Untenrum müssen wir auf jeden Fall überhaupt gar nichts machen. Also nichts rausnehmen zumindest. Wir können mal gucken, ob es klingt, wenn man ein bisschen anhebt tatsächlich. Was ist der bassreichste insgesamt?
Der bassreichste?
Ja. Ja, selbst bei dem ist es nicht zu viel. Das passt. Super. Die Kicks sind auch konstant laut in den ganzen Tracks, ne? Ich glaube, ich würde die Kick insgesamt ein kleines Stück lauter machen, um ehrlich zu sein.
Willst du lauter machen?
Ja.
Okay.
Weil das ist halt das Hauptding, womit du in Competition sein wirst mit dem. Was ist denn ein Track mit besonders krassen Leads drin, also wo wirklich sehr, sehr viel passiert in den Mitten? Ja, der ist busy, das ist super. Was ist deine Haupt-Hi-Hat? Die schärfste, lauteste?
Ja, schon die jetzt läuft eigentlich.
Okay, na gut, dann ist super. Also wenn du das auf Span anschaust, würde ich gucken, dass die Hi-Hat eigentlich nicht mehr Energie zieht als hier so Kick und Bass. Ja.
Okay.
Das ist schon ein bisschen krass sonst. Ja. Das ist so grenzwertig, so würde ich sagen.
Grenzwertig.
Weil ich glaube, höher würde ich jetzt nicht gehen.
Ja, okay.
Das klingt doch schon mal sehr gut. Dann schauen wir mal, ob wir noch ein bisschen mit dem Saturator machen können.
Na, du hast bei deinem Tutorial dieses RAW oder wie das heißt benutzt, ne?
Ja, genau.
Ja, das gibt's halt bei der 11 leider noch nicht, ne?
Ja, das macht nichts. Ich glaube, ich würde jetzt einfach mal ausprobieren. Ich versuche halt den richtigen Sweet Spot zu finden zwischen wie viel kann ich pushen und wie weit muss ich runtergehen mit Wet Dry, dass es trotzdem noch funktioniert. Voll cool.
Ja.
Sehr schön. Ja, also es ist schön homogen. Also ich glaube nicht, dass du da groß nachleveln musst oder sowas. Das ist das Wichtigste. Yeah, Dominic, what's your take?
Yeah, really, really nice. So I already had a mastering chain in this live set, and Philip did a new mastering from scratch, and we just listened it again, and it sounds way more organic and way more transparent than the one that I did, because I'm not a professional mastering engineer. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with the outcome, and I cannot wait to listen to it on a proper sound system.
Okay, guys, I'm going to quickly walk you through the mastering chain just so you have an idea of what's going on. We were following a few key principles. So we tried to keep it as simple as possible. We tried to not overcomplicate the whole thing. No strange multiband devices, nothing fancy, just very standard EQing, a little bit of glue compression, a little bit of saturation, and then into a final limiter. This is all we did, so I can show you. So we go from the EQ8 into the glue compressor, into a saturator, and into the final limiter. And now I will quickly press play and just show you what's going on, like how little these things are doing. Okay, so this was overall a relatively easy job to do because Dominic put in a lot of time for the preparation. So all the levels were super consistent between the instruments. It was all really well dialed in terms of the level, in terms of the frequency distribution. And that makes my life much easier. So in this case, we were able to put together a mastering chain that just gently brings stuff together and that makes sure that it sounds as loud as the DJ set before or the DJ set after, which is the main purpose of this whole exercise now. And yeah, I was really, really happy with the results. So listening to this now, it just feels very coherent. And this is exactly the thing that we try to achieve. So it's not easy to put together a live set and thinking about like what do you prepare, how do you route things, and what do you actually do live and what is already pre-programmed. What was your thinking behind this? How did you strategize?
My idea of the live set was to play some tracks in a live set that the visitors, the listeners already know, and also some unreleased stuff. So what I did was I bounced the stems out of the different tracks, put it into a new live set on Ableton, and the most time-consuming part that I did was leveling all the different stems from each of the tracks, so they, as Philip mentioned, sound coherent throughout the whole set. So this was a lot of work that I put into it, but I think the outcome is quite nice and it sounds really balanced throughout the whole 17 tracks that I'm gonna play in total. What I did furthermore is I MIDI mapped all the different parameters from the push to the fader Fox. So now with the fader Fox, I can, for example, mute and unmute different channels, play around with high pass filters, reverbs or delays, play with the cutoff. Like the fader Fox is really important to do that because without it would be really, really tough to do it. And with the TR-8S, I also programmed some patterns on different channels because with this you have like 11 different channels and I put like percussions, hi-hats, rides, and claps. And also here I leveled everything to the same level as the elements on the push. So I don't need to take care of levels on the TR-8S. So I can just fade everything up to the top position and it's all balanced in the mix. Yeah.
Nice. So a lot of preparation goes into this.
Mm-hmm.
What's your biggest fear coming up with a live set?
I'm practicing this now at home for 3 to 4 weeks. But if you're in the live situation in a club, there's so much happening around you. So I think my biggest challenge there will be, as I imagine it now, is not to get out of focus. So you stay focused the whole time in the live set. Also at the same time, not too focused because then you're like blending out what's happening around you. And I also would like to enjoy what I'm doing actually there and not just like nerding around and not interacting with people around me. That's gonna be a challenge, I guess. And also to get timings right because like, for example, it's many knobs and buttons and faders that I can use. But I mean, I didn't prepare everything 100% because I want to have this live situation as well. I created a storyline, but the storyline is variable. It's not like fixed. So I'm playing around with the different parameters and every time I practice the set, the outcome was a bit different to the version that I did before. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how it will come out in the end when I play it on Saturday. Yeah.
Perfect. That's what a real live set is all about. What is the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's currently thinking about doing a live set?
The most important thing you have to consider, what is like my core device that I can work with. For example, as I said, I tried with the Octatrack, but it never like really catched me to play live with it because it's a lot of menu diving. In a live set, I want to have a good overview. So the biggest advice I can give you is to find like a core unit of your live set that you feel comfortable with, that you like play after, let's say 1 or 2 weeks already with a bit of live without like getting too frustrated because it's too complicated to figure out the machine, basically. Yeah.
Okay, Dominic, where can people find out more about you?
You can find me on social media, on Instagram. My tag is Red Rooms Berlin. Also, I'm on SoundCloud. It's also Red Rooms Berlin on SoundCloud. So yeah, in the next weeks and months, there's a lot of stuff happening. I'm playing DJ sets here and there. You can find that on my Resident Advisor.
Okay, tell us about your next releases that are coming up.
So my next release is gonna be out in February. It's a collab release with Against Me. It's gonna be out on Tar Hollow. And I'm also thinking about starting my own label and maybe have my first release out in April, May next year. So definitely, stay tuned for this. There's a lot of stuff happening and you can follow what's going on my social media. Hey everyone, this is Red Rooms. I want to send out a huge thank you to Philip for his amazing work on mastering my live sets. I played my first live last week at Radio in Amsterdam for ADE and it sounded really phenomenal. I'm really happy with the result. Even the sound technician came to me and told me it sounds really, really good. All the different elements were on the right spot. The feedback from the people was also amazing. So yeah, again, huge thank you to Philip for making this happen, and yeah, see you guys soon.